Lydia is closing the door. Perfect. All right, dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited that we are such a big group tonight. I think, in fact, the biggest group I've seen, except when we have class. So that's great that you all find the time to be here from 6 to 8 p.m. And we have a lot coming today. First, a moderated session with 5 esteemed alumni. I'm very excited to tell you about every one of them a little. But before I get into that, I want to give a brief outline about the evening. I'm going to have a 40-minute panel with all the 5 panelists. And thereafter, we have some time for questions, 15 minutes. And thereafter, Cabrales is organized for some pizzas. So for those of you who are hungry, we have you covered definitely as well. Also, I want to give a big shout out to the P&P Club as well. It's not only an event of the HULT Mentorship Club, but also of the Project Operations and Product Management Club. And we came together and said, why not merge it all together? They had something outlined with Francesco already with Google. And I said, I have more or less product and program managers here anyway, so let's combine it and make it one successful event. With that being said, I'm happy to announce our first panelist of the evening. And I'd like you to introduce Tanya Tamrongterakul, a highly skilled professional based in San Francisco, California. Tanya is a dynamic thought leader with a proven track record of superior performance in the tech industry, with expertise in project management, product development, stakeholder engagement, and NLP. She has successfully led various projects, demonstrating her ability to assess actual needs and build lasting professional relationships. Tanya's background includes significant roles at Cerence and now Twitch, where she spearheads customer-facing products and streamlines processes to achieve exceptional results. Her extensive experience combined with her leadership skills and dedication make her a valuable asset in today's panel. Now, please welcome Tanya to the stage. Can take Great. With that being said, let me introduce the second panelist of the evening, Camilo González, a senior channel account manager based also in SF, as everybody of tonight, I assume. And Camilo is a dedicated professional with a proven track record in SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS technologies. His commitment to ongoing growth and exceptional performance sets him apart in the industry, especially as his company right now. When I looked into his LinkedIn, it was quite impressive in terms of what he put there in his About Me page. So with a deep understanding of his company's products, his customers' challenges, and the needs of his teams and partners, Camilo consistently bridges gaps and fosters meaningful connections. His fluency in both English and Spanish has enabled him to lead successful sales efforts in the Latin American and Caribbean markets. Camilo achieved at Odoo have been substantial, surpassing the net recurring revenue goal by 270%. I was like, well, I'm definitely going to ask you a question about that later. And he's consistently outperformed his colleagues as well. So with that, please join Camilo to the stage as well. Great. Let's get over before the two of you. Let's continue with our third panelist tonight. It's Mark Smits, an accomplished professional in the field of analytics, data, and cloud technologies, also in San Francisco. Mark is a double master's graduate, having completed his studies in international business in London and innovation here in San Francisco, following his undergrad in applied physics from Technische Universiteit Eindhoven in the Netherlands. His academic focus spans disruptive innovation, data importance, project management, strategy, finance, and statistics. Mark brings a wealth of experience from various roles, including his current position as a solutions engineer at Sigma Computing, where he has excelled for over 2 years now. His keen interest in logics and supply chain management led him to notable achievements, such as implementing efficiency storage systems and reducing transport costs during his tenure as a logistics manager. Mark's detailed approach and problem-solving skills make him also a very valuable asset in today's panel. With that being said, Mark, please come to the stage. I don't mind. Good. There we go. All right. Now we have two more to go. And before we come to Francesco as our last, I'd like to introduce Hannah Koopman to the stage. We have a senior product manager at Mural in San Francisco, and she's a very extraordinary individual as well. With a diverse educational background, including 3 master's degrees in business analytics, international business, and economics, you definitely studied enough, I'd say. Hannah brings a unique perspective to the tech industry. Her exceptional research, economics, and multilingualism in Dutch, French, and English, and elementary Indonesian, that's interesting, where did you learn that? Showcase her versatility. Hannah's achievements go beyond scholarships, being even the valedictorian in her MIB at HULT, so chapeau for that. And, with her now 3 years of experience at Mural, she definitely has a strong background in product management. I'm excited for insights tonight. Please come to the stage.
Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Francesco coming today from Google. He's a highly accomplished engineering program manager, specializing in large language models and generative AI. Francesco's expertise in Excel, MATLAB, and data analysis, coupled with his certifications as a certified Scrum Master and PMP, reflect his dedication to excellence. With over 3 years of experience at Google, Francesco has been pivotal in coordinating evaluations, training, and releases for innovative products at Google. I've heard about BART. Let's see how you're talking about that. He has been impactful in global contributions, driving efforts for search and assistance launches in 20 countries. Before here in San Francisco, he's been in Switzerland. Francesco has very much energy, and he has a lot of background from not only HULT, but also he did one short program at Stanford. That's definitely impressive as well. So with that being said, please join Francesco. That being said, I also definitely thank ChatGPT, who helped me a little to write those speeches. Otherwise, it would have taken me a little longer. Now, as I settle into the seat, I'm really excited to start talking to you. And I think a great way to start the panel is to talk about inspiration. So what about we start with you, Hannah? What's your inspiration? How did you end up at Mural? What's your story?
Yeah, so I'm from the Netherlands, which you might have noticed from my name, Koopman. I was in economics. I did a master's in econ, and I was in economic research at an academics company. And it was moving very slow. And sometimes you only kind of find out what you're interested in by finding out what you're not interested in. And for me, that was kind of the academic space. So I decided to do an MBA, moved here, did my master's, and then just started doing a lot of informational interviewing with people in the field, and ended up doing an internship in product management, which I absolutely loved. And that led me to Mural. And because they had like a couple of product openings, which I've been there for over 2.5 years now in product management. It's been really awesome. And I can talk more about my love for product management and kind of how I got at Mural, but want to be mindful of everyone's time too.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. What about we continue with you, Camilo? Now you have the stage. Yesterday we were a little too early,
Oh my God, yes,
and I'm very happy that you're joining in today as well.
Okay, my story, like
Yes.
I'm gonna frame it in tech, was when I started in Bogota, Colombia, in a university called Los Andes. I studied industrial engineering, and with a couple of friends, we started like a company over there. It was like an intermediary of goods and services. We had like delivery in terms of restaurants, pharmacy, reservations, and like common questions that people asked, and we tried to solve the problem. And we started to grow like very fast, and we were further acquired by a very big unicorn firm in Latin America called Rappi. And everything started like over there. After that, I applied to the masters in analytics and MIB, and I ended up in, but what drive me in terms of tech was that experience that I had.
Great. And what about you, Tanya? You're now working at Twitch. How did you end up there? Was that already your goal from the get-go, or that was just a random connection?
Here's a funny story. I literally didn't know Twitch before I came to the US. I'm originally from Thailand, from the long last name you might have guessed. And I found a partner here in HULT, and he is actually a very big fan of Twitch. And I was actually hoping to be hired by Tesla, and he was hoping to be hired by Twitch. And now we're living each other's dreams. So that sort of happened. Also, the choice of joining tech industry is also inspired by being in San Francisco itself. Because when I came here, I have a very different motivation to come to HULT to pursue MBA. I was trying to start my own business back in Thailand, and you know, the more you spend time here, your experiences change, your decisions change, which is completely good. It's fine because you start to find yourself, and I think that was coming to HULT in San Francisco was the greatest decision that I ever made.
Lovely. Now let's continue the role. What about you, Mark?
So to support Camilo, and going to tech is all coming from my bachelor, technical bachelor in the Netherlands, very academic, nothing for me. Then doing a master's at HULT. And then of course, if you want to work in tech, there are like a few cities in the world, but San Francisco is kind of the only one. How I landed at Sigma is more luck first. You know, like as you come out of HULT, you're gonna have a lot of interviews with different companies. A lot of them will reject you. Then you get an offer letter, you take it. Like not a lot of people have like 10 options after they graduate. I think like it's after that maybe. So it's just like, I could also have landed at a Dutch company in the US if they would have hired me. So, but now I'm happy, of course, that I landed at Sigma because of how the company grew over the last 2 years and what I've learned there over the couple of years as well.
Great. What about you, Francesco? Tell us your journey to Google, and then we can also jump into the second question as well, in terms of how does your daily work life look like? What do you do on a day-to-day basis? What do you work on? What software do you use? What's something which really drives you to get up in the morning?
I think for me it was very unconventional path because I did civil engineering as a bachelor degree, and I was like, no, like I'm not good at this. So for my master, I decided to do oil and gas engineering, completely different thing. And I was like, no, please. And so I went to HULT, and I was like, yeah, I want to go to San Francisco and work like in the renewable energies. Maybe I can sell myself as a former oil and gas engineer, stuff like that. But then, yeah, eventually, like as Tanya said, like life takes directions you can already predict. And so I ended up at Google, where I've been there for like 3 years, almost 4 years. So, yeah, that's me.
And let's join into the second part of my question. Tell us a little bit about your daily life. What are you working on currently?
Daily life. So I work as a program manager in large language models operations. It's a very crazy space to be right now. Very, very crazy space. Lot of work to do and a lot of, you know, data and statistics involved, which is the stuff I really like. My day-to-day, I guess it's like about organizing meetings, coordinating the different teams. As a program manager, you work with so many different type of teams, like UX, data scientists, product managers, engineers. So gathering all these different people, making sure that the work gets done. So I think that's my day-to-day, I would say. But it's really unpredictable. Like, I think that the nature of what I'm doing right now, it's so crazy that it's really hard to, like, you never get bored, essentially.
That's great. What about you, Camilo? What do you do on a daily basis? And especially, I think something which is really valuable for the audience as well. What are like the top 3 skills you learned and how we say, I'm still using them today?
Okay, first I'm gonna start with a
Yeah.
daily basis. it's about lead acquisition. So we have some opportunities that comes from marketing, and we try to, like, we have our own territory. We have to do the qualification, then the software demonstrations, and then the negotiations. And after that, you sell. So you're always trying to sell. I work with a portfolio with about 25 partners across Latin America. And I try to, every time I gather an opportunity, for example, from the CRM or from an outbound lead, I try to put it together with the partner that already have the expertise in that particular industry. So basically it's about, it's like a liaison in between like the final client and the partner. That's my daily basis, trying to lead acquisition and doing demonstrations. So it's not only about calling. It's about understanding the need of the company itself and actually provide a demonstration, a tailored demonstration to the specific company. We are an open source community, and we have like, we tackle every type of industry. So I'm learning from pharmacies, restaurants, and oil and gas companies, like every type of industry you can get in your pipe, and you need to provide a solution and then partner up with a specific partner. And the top skills is like teamwork. It's key because you have the partner and you have the people from your company, the legal team, the accounting team, and a skill that it's very valuable that I learned from HULT is actually being capable to work with everyone in terms of culture. So basically that would be.
That's right. I think that's definitely something we learn at HULT to learn what culture is and how different it can be as well. I think to really dive into one software, we can continue with you, Hannah. You're definitely working with Mural. So tell me about it. What makes Mural so special?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mural, the product. We're a visual collaboration tool. So our main product is the whiteboarding tool. So we have like teams come in and they collaborate together, teamwork with stickies, and they do retros and planning and whatnot. So you might think, okay, product manager at Mural, very much focused on like that end user experience, right? No, that's not what I do at all. 90% of our revenue comes from enterprise companies. And so customers like Accenture or like really any industry like banking, they buy subscription with us, and then their employees are using Mural. And so I really work with our enterprise customers. Our enterprise customers have very specific needs to even buy our products in the first place. And I specifically own and focus on our identity and access management capabilities, as well as some of our enterprise security and compliance features. So think of things like when you sign up, there needs to be two-factor authentication, right? Like you get an SMS or something, or we need like scalable methods to delete your employees at scale when you have a layoff. So features like that is what I own as a product manager. And for those that are not familiar with what a product manager does, which is different from a project manager, I wish I had a project manager because I kind of do that a little bit as well, given that we're a startup. Is you are the owner of the product, and you are responsible for the success of the product. And what that means in terms of daily tasks varies very much in the stage of where you are in building the product. It is deciding the vision and the strategy for the product, evangelizing that with different teams, stakeholders, execs. It is defining the requirements, writing the product specs. I write a lot. It is working, once you get to the go-to-market stage, working with sales, working with marketing, working with enablement, working with my marketing manager to get a very successful launch out that our customers are going to buy these features. So yeah, again, depending on kind of where I'm at in the cycle, and usually I'm doing multiple streams at the same time, building products, I'll be doing and spending different time on those activities, usually in a lot of meetings and working late at night to actually get the work done. But it's very exciting, and I love product management. So if you have more questions about that later, I'm happy to answer them.
That's great. I think you definitely talked a lot about what product management is, but I think still the big move for a lot of people exists in terms of what's the big difference about product management and project management. And I'll leave that question up for discussion. Who wants to take it? You want to continue? Fair enough. Okay.
I mean,
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And I'm curious to hear your thoughts too, actually, in a little bit. But I think the main difference is you, as a product manager, you define the products that get built, the vision and the strategy of where you want to take that product, and you're responsible for that. As a project manager, you ensure that there is a successful kind of plan to get there, like bringing in the different people that you need to get to that vision, strategy, outcome. That's how I would mainly define it, but it really depends on the company and the stage you're at. So I would assume at a company like Google or Meta, like, you know, there's so many different functions for all the different bits. And so your scope and responsibility as a product manager is probably going to be a little bit more smaller and focused on like driving the product and like making sure it goes successfully. At a startup like Mural, you do everything that there's no person for. So if there's like no documentation person, you're going to write the documentation because ultimately it's your responsibility to make sure it launches. But I would love to hear what you think. Given that
No, I
you're
think
on this project.
it's accurate.
Yeah, it's accurate.
Congrats.
I think that, you know, the PM is more in charge of the vision and making sure that the requirements are there and that are right. Whereas the program or project manager is more in charge of executing, making sure that everyone is aligned, making sure that we have a plan, as you said. So I think that, yeah, that's how it goes. I think that specifically at Google, it's just very large, right? And so there's just a bunch of teams doing a bunch of different things. It might be that like 3 buildings from you, there's a different team that is doing exactly the same things and you guys don't know about each other. So I think that in big companies compared to startups, it's also more about navigating this large mess, which is the, you know, all these teams that you have that are. I think that's one of the things that it's a bit different, not only between like GM or project manager and product manager, but also like working in startups versus like companies.
Definitely. Let's switch back to definitely the smaller scale. Mark, you are definitely working at probably the company which is maybe least known with you, with Odoo as well. How does your work differ?
So Sigma is a startup like Mural as well. I joined there when it was 160 people, then we grew to 450 in a year, which is ridiculous if you were like there. Then we decreased our numbers to around 390, so a mass round of layoffs. I think it's very similar. More startups are very similar to each other in the way of execution, like hiring ahead of the curve, like how much do you expect to grow? How many salespeople do I need to achieve that target? How many solution engineers do I need to support those salespeople to do the product demonstration, run like a proof of concept, which is like when you as a company are talking to another company and you say like, let me prove that my product brings value to your business. And then you say like, hey, let's do like a 2-week trial, guided trial. You're going to work, I'm particularly working then with their data team, setting up their Sigma instance. And what Sigma does is just cloud analytics. So with the migration of all the data to the cloud, like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and then we have Snowflake, very hot startup right now. It's not a startup, and it's still a startup, but it's a very big one and growing very fast. That is very new, and we have to prove those values. That's for software companies, I think, all very similar. Like nobody will buy you anymore, especially because the interest rates went up so badly that it's not that easy to sell anymore. And but for the rest, I think it's amazing to work at a startup. I have never worked at a big company like Google, so I cannot really argue about how it is to work at a big company. But what happens in a startup, as Hannah said, you have to wear multiple hats. So you have to do like a lot of different things. Like if you need to do something on marketing, then you just have to do it yourself, you know, with your CRM. If you have to build some automation, then just figure it out yourself. And then instead of like your defined position, you learn a lot of other things as well.
Definitely. Looks like the Dutch people have their entrepreneurial spirit. That's nice to hear for those two there in the audience. No.
I can see they are Dutch.
Yeah.
You can see. see it from a mile away, huh? The people
Tweet,
in
right,
Belgium
forward.
and Dutch, you can just take them out.
I don't remember. He's from the south. Nice. Okay, great. So about that, I think Tanya, it's definitely your time to speak up as well. And I think something which is really interesting at Twitch is that you are collaborating with so many people, with so many influences, and I think a big part of Twitch is also stakeholder management. So what about you tell us a little bit about how you ensure that you have a successful cooperation with your clients?
The simple answer is everybody needs to be aligned on the same goal, right? That you need to make sure that everybody's working towards what the end goal is. So the first and foremost and most important thing is you go talk to them, explain what is needed to be done, what the end product is gonna look like, and from there, you will need to know what their role is, right? So you need to understand how they work, they need to understand what their needs are, and then you will be the person who make that needs met. For example, if they need a drawing, you need to go to another team and say, hey, we need this drawing, this is what it's supposed to be. In tech companies, you might have heard we work a lot with ambiguity because it doesn't exist yet. You don't know what it is. You don't really know how it's going to affect the world. And so the only thing you can do is describe how you wish you want it to be, right? So that, I think, is the fun part of doing something product related, even though my job description or my job title doesn't say anything about product, but apparently the work that we do, it requires that because my team specifically, which is customer experience, we are very in touch with customers. We hear them every day. We listen to them every day. So we know their pain points. So this is the thing that we need to convey to like the other teams who are not like listening to all this, like they're not seeing the same things as us because it's not their job to, right? So that's where you start, and then you start trying to explain to them in their language. By their language, meaning like engineers speaks certain way, marketing speaks certain way, because the job, their jobs are different, right? So we need to like understand how they work, understand the language, and try to align everybody, and everything would go smoothly. It's not that like everything is gonna turn out perfect, because that's non-existent, but
Jobs exist at the end of the day as well. Yeah. Nice. Great. And what about you, Camilo? How does it work with collaborating with clients? Also, what do you look in teammates to say, okay, this is somebody I love working with, and that's why?
The main challenge about my division is that we train the partners. So after they reach a certain type of billing, they go to another division. So it's basically enablement. You have to train them in terms of functional aspects of the platform. So it's a little bit challenge, because it's not if you like or not working with this particular partner that has been assigned, is that you need to make it happen, and you need to make him produce money somehow. So it's a tough role, because you are always challenged every time comes new partners, and yeah, that's like
That's great.
the main challenge.
Now, in terms of landing all the job here in the States, you all made it, and I think a lot of us are planning to do that as well. What are your top tips to ensure plan to land a job within especially those tough OPT requirements? What about you, Hannah? Want to go first?
Yes. Okay, the only way to get a job is through your network. I mean, I'm sure that the whole career folks have told you this as well, but it's like every single interview I landed, and I did lots of interview rounds, and I had a couple of offers, was through a network. So what I did the MIB first and then the MSBA. The MSBA program, first day of class, I put together my spreadsheet, like who am I gonna go and ask for informational interviews in the field? And I just did a bunch of informational interviewing, just like starting to build my network, like through LinkedIn, going to events. And you guys can do that all now. Like for me, it was like COVID time, so it was really hard. And then you build those connections, you start doing practicing interview rounds, right? Especially for roles like product management. There is kind of like a format to it. Interviewing is just a skill, so you gotta do it a lot and practice. And then literally all of my opportunities came through my network. For some of them, I never even submitted my resume. I just like reached out, I was like, hey, I see you have an opening. Remember we chatted a while back, blah, blah, blah. Like, do you think, I'd be a good fit? And it's like, yeah, let's chat next day. And then you go, So I really strongly, of course it's luck as well. It's like, but it's hard work. Like, I think opportunities, it's like where hard work meets opportunity is luck. If you put in the hard work, then you'll have more opportunities and then you'll be lucky and you'll find something. Also, I wouldn't be too picky with the role you start with here. I think it's just like get on the carousel and once you're on, it's gonna be much easier to switch in tech. But getting on, like if you don't have a tech background or you haven't worked in the US before, which were both the cases for me, so it was like kind of tricky. Just get on and do an internship. Do an internship here in the US. So that's my advice.
Great. What about you, Marek? What was your strategy?
So Hannah gave great advice. I didn't do that when I was in HULT.
It still worked out.
In the end of the day, if you work hard enough, it will work out. Doesn't matter how much you work. But I think what helped, there were some Dutch companies that were in the US. I reached out to them. Of course, they were interested. Then it didn't work out. Then there's some other companies. In the end, I think it's just don't really apply through LinkedIn or also apply through LinkedIn, but just search on, and this is all been told to you already, but like search on LinkedIn to who could be the possible hiring manager for this position, and don't spam him or her, but send him a few messages with why it would be a good fit. And then if you don't respond, send again, don't let it slip so easily. I think that works the best. Of course, like you have to spot opportunities. Some companies are growing fast at a given moment when your guys are going to look for jobs. Apply for those companies because you need a job in the end of the day, because you only have 90 days without a job, I think. The second thing I have is if you would do a dual degree, and this would be your first one, do an internship in the summer and make sure you have 3 years of OPT. If you want to stay in the US, that's just, I think, priority number one. Because if you have a 1-year OPT like I did, I started as a BDR, which is a very entry-level sales position. You really have to work very hard. Then they sponsored me in February and the lottery is in March. Then I got it because that's just luck, because a lot of, it's just luck. And if I didn't get it, I had to go to Europe or basically to another country. So if you work hard, luck will come.
That's great. So in terms to sum it up, you're sort of saying on the one hand side, definitely take action, and then also do the dual degree if you have the chance.
No. If you don't do the dual degree,
do it definitely.
If you don't do it, it's fine. Like I'm not going to tell people what to do because no. But then you have to start a little bit earlier. Like if this is your first year and your dual degree is coming up next year. Right now, I would not be focused on job search. I would just enjoy it, my honest opinion. But if you're in your last master's already, then it's November, and I would start to look at a little bit, like maybe for an internship, because the internship interviews for bigger companies, they are right now. So you have to get into those if you want to have an internship at a big company.
Definitely.
But yeah.
And what about you, Francesco? You made the transition over to Switzerland and now you're back in SF. How did you land your role at Google?
I think, yes, networking definitely helps. Also, like not being picky really helps. My first job here was like an unpaid internship on a management consulting startup that died. So I think it's just important to keep the ball rolling, right? And I think that, definitely start to think about it sooner rather than later. I think another bonus, which I think is also very important, is try to build a genuine connection rather than just, cold calls and stuff, because you might have a friend that knows someone that is hiring, I think you guys are in an amazing city where there's a lot of interesting people that are doing very interesting things. So I think what you should do is genuinely be like interested in what's going on out there. Like to me, I don't like to reach out through LinkedIn. It's the right thing to do if you're able to do it. But to me, it's not something that I can do. It's not myself. What is myself? It's more like I'm passionate about engineering, I'm passionate about software, and I like to talk about that with people. Like I would do that 24/7, right? So definitely, find people with build genuine connection with people. I think that helps a lot. There's a lot of people out there in the city that tries to make connection and try to, get in touch with people because they want a job. Even myself, sometimes I find myself in those situations. So I think trying to have a genuine connections with people, it's like something you should target for. That's one advice that I have. That helped me a lot.
Awesome. And I think we have such a big panel, not only panel today, but also a big audience today. So I want to wrap up the panel quite in a couple of minutes that you can ask all the questions you'd like to ask. But before we do so, I'd also like to briefly talk about your two strategies to land your roles at Odoo and at Twitter.
Okay, so at Odoo was basically through a connection. So yeah, on top of what everyone had said, network. That extra party that you don't want to go. That extra brunch that you don't want to go. Try to go to be out of your house. That's my advice. And also, I will try to automate somehow, like using a tool with AI of outbounding strategies through LinkedIn. You can use, for example, Apollo. Apollo is a great tool. You can get the free trial for 15 days, and you can send 10K messages, and it will tailor towards the person specifically. So you can tailor everything, and AI do it for you. You just put like, I can help anyone who's interested in order to do that. So I combine both networking and try to use technology in order to do those LinkedIn, because LinkedIn it's a little bit boring, but the easy apply, yeah, you can do it, but you're only gonna get it with a referral at the end of the day. But if you don't want to waste your time like being on LinkedIn every single time, just do an automated outbound strategy with a tool that will tailor the LinkedIn messages to everyone in the organization. I use that as a sale and works perfectly fine. So if someone wants to know more about it, I can help you out too.
Tanya.
It's funny how everybody just says, like, don't do LinkedIn, because I actually got my interview through LinkedIn. And like I landed my first job because someone actually contacted me and asked me if I want to work with them through LinkedIn, and I didn't really reach out to them. And the only reason was because I got a superpower of speaking Thai. And I don't know, is there any Thai person here? Oh, nice. See how there's only one of you in here? Like we have almost like low to zero competition in this market. But yeah, I got like, I think first time I was reached out to be a project manager at AWS, that didn't go well because of COVID. I graduated in the year where COVID literally hits and everybody just lost their job. The market was really bad because everybody's looking for a job and everybody has more experience in the US than I am. So right now, as you can see, a lot of tech companies are also doing a lot of layoffs because during COVID, they were doing different strategies, and now we're out of COVID, they're changing their strategies. So there are a lot of layoffs still, which means that there's a lot of competition out there for you guys. I'm not sure if how it's gonna be next year or the year after, because who knows what's gonna happen in the future. So I would give the same advise as everybody that first, don't be picky. You like to see the numbers, oh, 90K a year, this is so attractive. But everybody's looking at the same thing, right? And you needed to land your first job. First and foremost, you need to choose what is more important to you. If you want to stay in the country, then try to find a way to stay in the country first. The jobs will come. Like eventually, I would get, like, I didn't start at Twitch when I first graduated. I started as like a subcontractor with like, I'm not gonna lie, it's like $20 an hour. And at the time I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. How do I go from here, right? And let me tell you all right now, because nobody told me before, OPT and OPT STEM does not limit you to one job. So I was doing like 3 jobs at the same time, which COVID sort of helped me with that because I was working from home, so nobody saw that I was working too. While trying to TA these kids. But yeah, it was a fun and monumental time in my life. Eventually, I ended up with 55 an hour and nobody knew about it except for the tax IRS, because I need to do tax later. But yeah, so don't just focus on the number of what the career, like the position is offering you. Figure out the way to stay first, because that's the most difficult part.
Great, and with that being said, let's open the Q&A. Who has the first question? Yes.
How do you tackle the question in an interview, like when you need sponsorship?
No.
Who are we asking?
Yes, like when they're in the interview, they're just asking like if you need a sponsorship or something like that. How do you tackle it? Because that's generally what happens. You can have a very good profile and all that, but this question comes in and you're like out for it. How do you tackle it?
That's a thing that always had happened, but I'm gonna talk to another thing that's very related with that. If you are in the pathway towards STEM or OPT, STEM, H1B, green card, there's also a way for getting the green card right away. I have done it. I'm in the process. I don't have it right now, but I'm in the process. And it's actually through a project that has social contribution. So you can some sort of create a project. You don't need an LLC. You just need some recommendation letters from companies. I can explain you after the panel, but you can, without a company in the United States, you can apply directly through the green card and not going through the entire process. I'm getting the green card and it's not with my company. I'm getting the green card through this project and I don't have an LLC and anything in regards of that. So the question that you ask is, you can't lie about it because at the end of the day, they will find out. But there are other ways that are not traditional, and this one, I hope I have found it when I was in your place, but whoever's interested, please hit me out afterwards.
No, but sorry, not to cut you in. I think question one way or the other was not answered, right? Because you're trying to sign on for an internship, and then in the questionnaire, they're asking you, will you need work sponsorship?
Always put no.
Always, yeah, no.
Exactly, then that's why you're lying, because then you are saying you shouldn't lie.
You're not lying, because I think OPT itself, on itself is not sponsorship. Like H1B or green card, like where people are, that is sponsorship. Like a company actually, like my lawyers reach out to me like, hey, we need to file for your H1B. It costs the company money. OPT is basically free for a company. The only thing they need to have is like electronic, they have to be electronically registered and then they can employ you as on OPT. So if you're on OPT, which is if you have OPT and STEM OPT, you pay way less taxes. So stay as long on that as you can. But you don't technically need, you don't need sponsorship. So I would just put no. I still put no. And I need it, so. just put no. Just because some people have like automatic rejection if you answer that question with yes. If you are in the interviews, they like you, they will hire you. Doesn't matter if it costs the company $5,000 or $10,000, they will just do it. But you have to be able to speak with them.
Yes.
So I was listening quietly to almost everybody. Everybody is like kind of coming from different background of tech. Like I think Camilo was equally off tech before coming in. So my point is, you weren't too.
I wasn't in tech.
Exactly. So then the question is, how did you arrive at the rules that you decided to do? Because probably if you come in to do either MBAN or MIA or MBA, like you're just being taught specific courses. So then how did you arrive and say, okay, I'm going out of this campus, I want to stay, but this is where I am targeting? Because though tech is what San Francisco is known for, it's not the only companies in San Francisco as well.
Yeah.
Hannah can take it
Okay,
first.
Yeah.
I'll go first. So I did not have a background in tech. If you could have asked me 5 years ago, what is a product manager? I would be like, I have no clue. Like I had no clue about any of those like job titles and what they meant. And so my advice is to talk with people. So you like understand what they're doing and then start thinking about what are my skills and interests and how do they match with the roles and not be picky. Again, like when I first applied after graduation, I applied for solution engineering roles, which I guess is what you're doing. And I love working with solution engineering. I applied for product management, which was my ideal goal, but I know it's very competitive. So I was like, I'm probably not gonna get that, but that'd be awesome. And like some analytics roles, like product analytics, or anything kind of closely related to products. So I thought like that will give me a segue to at some point transfer into that. But like finding out the different type of jobs and like what they do and what your interests lie, that's really through like conversation and understanding what those people are doing in their day-to-day and where your interests lie. Like you can read a lot about it, but I think ultimately you'll find out when talking to people and not being too picky with your first title.
It's well answered.
On to that. So my question was for you too. Besides understanding the roles, how did you get the doors open for you in the interviews? Because like all opportunities that come for me are in finance, because I came from financial market. Like how do you get people to consider you?
Yeah, I did an internship at an unpaid internship at a startup that no longer exists. And I went to the CEO, I was like,
People around.
you know,
Francesco said the same.
that's also a good story, you know, whatever. I went to the founder and I was like, dude, I will do anything. I just need that product manager title. Because that will help me when I'm applying for product manager jobs. He's like, fine, like you'll get the product manager title. And I did everything from QAing to talking with investors, like putting together pitches, whatever. But I had that title. And then I first joined Mural as an APM, associate product manager, and then you get hired. Like if you're doing well, you get promoted, you know, like I'm a senior now, so it's fine. But like, it's okay to start. Sometimes it's easier to get your foot in with like an entry-level role. And then like get an internship, ideally in kind of the field that you're interested in, is my advice. But I'm curious. Do you have other advice? Thank you. Yeah, it's a good question.
Let's go first. Well, Luisa, okay, and then Aditya.
No, it kind of relates to that as well, because since like the job title here doesn't really tell too much always about like what the role means, and like you may have similar job titles, but what you do on a day-to-day basis can be super different. So I'm just curious, like what's your specific favorite part of your role? Like what it looks like at your company?
I can go first because I actually like what I'm doing. Ouch. But as you actually go into the job market, getting hired by companies, or some of you may have already had like career backgrounds. You probably have been through like workplaces that you don't like, but at Twitch, everybody just speaks the same nerdy language that is the same speak. So that's why I like working there, and also like when you need to coordinate stuff, it's just like you're talking to a friend. So it's so much easier that way, instead of like you being scared to talk to the next person. Am I gonna say that like in the wrong way? And it's very important that Twitch is very inclusive in the sense that like it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter your culture, it doesn't matter your religion or anything else that like or gender. Like we have a very big LGBTQIA community working at Twitch, and I think that part is where I feel like this is a very good world. And I'm not sure if I'm answering your questions correctly, but I think that's one part that is kind of important. Like, it's not just you going to like big companies and then like hope to get the best out of it. Like Twitch is like a baby of Amazon, because Amazon acquired Twitch 10 years ago. And it's very surprising how Amazon culture and Twitch work culture is totally different, even though we're like their subsidiary. So even though you're like, oh, I need to get a job at Amazon because it's such a big company, it should be stable, whatnot. I think it's very good to do what Hannah did and like reaching out, trying to figure out, and try to make friends. Like, don't go and pitch yourself. Like, if you come and pitch to me in LinkedIn, I'm just gonna ignore you because I don't know how to help you. So go and make conversations, like be friends, try to make friends. That's the networking. Like, try to go and make friends and talk about like how their job, how their daily lives. It's not just the 5 of us, there's a lot, whole millions, zillions people out there that you can explore with.
Awesome. Aditya, you have a question.
So, in this recent times of, Industry 4.0, sustainability, how do you think, or do you think, there's a change in dynamics when it comes to this particular role, project management or product management? So if you think, how is the dynamics changing, and what are the things which we need to adopt to meet that?
Can you elaborate a little bit on what you mean by sustainability
There's always a trend which is changing, and we have new technologies which are emerging, and the job demands more, right, every day. So what do you think is the current dynamics, and how do you think the role of a project manager is going to change over the course of time, or do you think there's going to be a change?
AI. I mean, you probably have a lot more to say about this, given that you work with AI.
I think it's much easier to wear different hats compared to before. I could sell myself as a data analyst if you look at the work I'm doing, but practically I'm using AI, right? So I think people don't really understand the power of these things, and I feel like, I don't know, personally starting to learn how to use those earlier is better rather than later. I think it's just, as a project or program manager, you just need to like wear different hats, and it's much easier to do now. I actually feel like that's the role, one of the roles that it's mostly impacted by this disruption in a positive way.
And also by the products you're building, right? Like, of course, now we're building all these AI functionalities everywhere, and it's like a race to the to get all the AI stuff in for product management specifically, right? So everything you're building, you have to think, is there like an AI component? And then for me, working with enterprises, how can we turn it off? That's like the first thing my customers ask me. It's like, how do I turn this off? And what does this mean in terms of my data being used by your algorithms and whatnot? And then, like you said, like we had a documentation team of 4 people, and then AI, and now we have 1 person, right? Like, and I'm writing a lot of documentation using ChatGPT. I mean, yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
So as you guys said that, you need to have your foot in the door, don't be picky about jobs. I get that. But like post that, we all have like some particular job that we want to go for. Like I might get in as a solution engineer or just a level 1 engineer, whatever you want to say. Post that, how do I look at getting to where I am, where I want to be? And that, like, what would you suggest is the best way of going to that job that you want? Any of you, really?
I can answer that, I think, because I sort of scrap all of my backgrounds, throw it in the trash, and then start over. I mean, literally, I was like product engineer, and then I was like growing in that sense, and I was doing procurement, and I was doing all these things, and now I'm in entertainment industry out of nowhere because I used to be in factory all my life. And none of that is very much transferable in this world of tech, because the moment they ask you like, so how much do you know about tech and programming and agile? And I'm like, not much. So what ended up happening was I actually got a job that is related to machine learning, you know, the one that pays me only $20 an hour. And like the only thing I did was data annotation. So it depends on like where you want to go. If you feel like your skills in the like what you did before is not really transferable, I mean, starting from scrap is not really a bad idea, because those jobs are going to be like with your already acquired skills, it's not going to be difficult for you to do. So like an 8-hour job, you're probably going to finish it within 3 or 4 hours, which is what sort of ended up happening to me. That I sort of finished the task that everybody took 8 hours in like 3 hours. So I had the rest of these time. And they're not going to like watch me stop doing stuff yet again. But if you're, I mean, like, as long as you're willing to go that way, that's all I'm saying. But you can also start from right now having like, this is gonna sound really bad, but unpaid internship. It really helps in sort of shaping you into the career that you actually want. And doing it while you're still in school is not too bad, because you only need to like allocate like 4 hours of your day. But it gives you that position title name that you actually wanted. And all these companies that they're gonna hire you like unpaid, they're not gonna care what the title they put on you, because they're not paying you anyway. So this is like your form of payment, let's just put it that way.
You need CPT though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you need CPT, yes, yes. So it's like 3 months of, yeah.
Yes.
I have a more broader question. So like for me personally, most of the time, it happened several times in my life that I went through some experience. And after that, I was like, oh man, like I wish someone told me that. Like after like your experience and how your working experience was, and I would like to hear from everybody, what's your major takeaway that you will out to your younger version?
I have one, but I don't know if everybody has one. I wish someone would have told me that I could just apply for a translation job and it would count as my CPT. And and I would be earning money while like doing this easy job, and then having 1 foot at a door, 1 foot inside of the door of Apple. I wish someone would have told me that I would have the title that I used to work for Apple, even though it's just a translator. And then that sort of gave me this next step of like Twitch hiring me, because they saw me used to work at Apple.
I worked. I did that for Apple, but I couldn't tell that I was working there. It's like, oh, but I think mine would be to. It's not really a positive one, I think. Should it be positive?
No, I think everybody can take it.
At the end of the day, a company will never be loyal to you. So also never be, especially in the US, you know, in Europe, there are like very good rules to protect people from companies and vice versa. which is even hard to fire someone, which is also bad. But in the US, it's so dynamic. So companies will never be loyal to you. So my tip is also not be too loyal to your company. You know, if you do, let's say, an X amount of work, they pay you an X amount of money, they ask you to do more and more and more, and that's fine, you know, because that's what they expect from you. In the first year, when you do more, it's only taken as a good thing. But then you need to get paid more as well after your first performance review. As long as they don't do that, they kind of start playing with you. And then you should just look for something else and leave.
One of the things that I learned that I wish I knew earlier, it was when you're applying with these companies and you have like a visa type of situation, most of the time they have no idea what they're doing with your visa, with your application for your visa. They really have no idea what they're doing. So I think that, you know, it's very good that, like, you know, like I have a lot of people that I know from HULT that made it and they are here now, and like I can tell you that there's a lot of people that in the past I reached out from HULT and I asked like, how do I handle this visa situation? I know you've been in a similar situation, right? So I think that try to use the network not only for the job but also to learn about the different visa experiences. For example, I can tell you one thing that I observed is that a lot of our students that are here, that they studied here and that they now work here, actually they went back home or in a different country and then they came back here. A lot of cases like this. Actually, I know maybe more cases like this than people that went through the whole H1B, like Ricardo and stayed here. At least for my case.
Why is that? Like any?
I think that, you know, you at least, you know, for me it was Switzerland, for example. I don't have visa problems in Switzerland, right? Because I have a European passport. And so that problem is non-existent, right? Then like once you work out there for some time, then you can transfer back here if the company supports it, of course, right? Like I got rejected, my H1B like got rejected and I couldn't stay here. So I had to go back. Then I came back here.
Yes,
actually,
would be sorry on, no?
I have the green card.
Okay.
So
for me, basically my life would have changed drastically if I had the green card already. So I already told you that there is a way to applying for a green card through a project, and that would have changed my life drastically. It would be like, there are some companies that if you are not American citizen, you just can't. They don't care if you are very talented. If the first requirement is American citizen. The time of processing is about 1 year, 1.5 years. So if you started like right now, once you are done with your studies, probably you can have it. So
how much does it cost?
20K. Okay.
I don't know if you're referring to the EB2.
That one.
EB2 thing.
EB2 NIW. Yeah.
NIW.
Yeah, correct. That one.
You have to build a strong case of a project that I think you will.
Actually, I know a lot of people from HULT that use their future challenge project to apply for that visa, and everything is on paper. You need to prove anything in the real time.
But it makes sense.
Traction.
It makes sense. But the only problem is that I think the legal guys that helps do it, fees are outrageous. But that's not what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Maybe I have my question. I have the last two questions. But because this one was important to me, I always join these days Zoom. And said that today I want to ask a few questions that are important to me. Who was soft skills like emotional intelligence, you being so critical about somebody's feelings and all those things play a role in searching for jobs? Do you think US companies care about these things? Because sometimes when I hear, I don't want to talk so much, but when I hear my professor say, you have to have this, you have to have this, I'm like, do these people really even care about this?
In sales, no. If you don't hit the target, you're out.
Yeah.
And if you hit the target, you're in.
If you hit the target hard, you're in.
Okay, so then that brings me to my next question. How does it feel, or how does it look like in a tech company? I have not been in a tech company before, I've been in consulting, I've been in an audit firm, and I know how it feels. It's like hardcore. It's like in an audit field, you take documents, you review documents, you give your report. Either you are qualifying or not qualifying your report, or the support this financial statement, you are done, you are charged, it's gone. In accounting field, you are reviewing expenses, making sure you are cutting down costs, making sure the revenues that are coming in are being utilized well, so that the firm will have a growth, performance-wise. And that is what finance is, and that's what audit is. How is it like? Because sometimes I just wonder, I'm like, it's software. So when you go and sit down in software, what is it like in a tech company itself? Because I'm like, I don't know what you guys really do in a tech company itself.
I was just going to say, let's take that as your last question, Anna. I think you were planning to answer that.
I want to get back
And
to
then we-
your soft skills question, because like, yes, in sales, it's hitting the quota, you're in or you're out. And it's much faster. Like you switch jobs faster, I assume generally, right? In product management, I think the hard skills, right? So doing the MSBA, highly recommend everyone to do the double degree because it's a foot in the door. You can say, oh, I can do SQL, whatever. Like, am I actually using Python day to day? No. Am I using SQL? Yeah, a little bit. But it is the soft skills. It's all about the soft skills, like how you present yourself. Are you likable? Because like at the end of the interview, they want to think like, is this a person I want to spend like 8 hours a day with talking? Like, is this a person I like? Like, are you good at communication? Because with product management, it's all about communicating. Like, I'm constantly communicating with different teams. That's all soft skills. It's how do you present yourself? How do you do a presentation? So I think it's actually like super, like even more important than the technical stuff. Like you can learn the technical stuff. It's important, but I think they look more for soft skills in the end. So I just wanted to say that.
Any one last question? Then we wrap up. It's valuable? Great, okay. That's your last question. And then I'm gonna wrap up the panel. Go ahead. What's your question?
So I have tech background. Would you recommend me to start at a startup or a big company?
It's really
Called
different.
product management.
Product startup. For products?
Yeah.
Okay, if you're gonna apply for like Google's APM program or something, like product management is already extremely competitive. Like just think about the numbers, you have 10 engineers for one product manager. So it's like the competition is insane. If you're trying to do that at like a Google program, you're competing with like Americans that did an MBA at Stanford or something like that. Not that it's impossible, you can definitely try it, but I think your chances are higher at a startup. Like I joined Mural as employee 200, we grew to 1,000, now we're 500. And like, you know, they were just hiring like, okay, you don't have like a ton of product experience, fine. We just need someone that's gonna hit the ground running and try to do everything they can do. So I think you'll have like more luck there, but you'll be asked to do more. Like, you know, you'll have to wear more hats. And if you already have a tech background, I think that's really in your favor because you can use that in the interview process and say like, look, I already did some engineering, whatnot, like I can do everything.
Great, thanks. I think that was a great point to wrap up. Now I just want to thank you all for such a nice panel, all of you 5, and also for all your lovely questions and your attendance. And before we wrap up for the pizzas, I'd like to make 1 or 2 quick brief announcements. First and foremost, I loved it that so many people were here today. I'd love it to be the same within the next couple of panels which are around happening this week still. And also I'd love all of you who said today was awesome to be on our next panel of HMC as well next week on Thursday. It's going to be specifically about how do I make a job strategy, how do I land a job. I'm going to talk a little bit about visa stuff, all that stuff. I'm ensuring that we have some questions in there. That's one part. And then on the other part, as part of the HULT Mentorship Club, we're also launching a mentorship program. And I'm collecting as many alumni as possible who are planning to become mentors of us. And I've collected so far a lot of panelists. If you want to join us as well, you're more than happy to tell me in the aftermath. And if you're interested to join as well and get mentored, reach out to HMC. And we're going to start that panel, that program in December. And with that being said, thank you so much. Please get all together now for a quick picture, and then we get the pizza. Thank you very much.